you doing? It's your boy BrogiNaric back again with another review. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to the Tom Cruise classic Top Gun back in 1986. And this is going to be a non-spoiler review. Maybe be some spoilers from the first movie. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers for this movie. But I'm going to be telling you the good, the bad, and everything in between. But before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. We're still growing. We can use your help, so thanks for doing that. So Top Gun Maverick is the sequel to the original Top Gun, which was a movie that I grew up on. It used to just be on TV a lot when I was a kid, and I haven't seen it in a long while. And I remember when this movie was first announced, I was like, who cares? Like, it's been like 30 years. Like, it's over 30 years. Who cares? No one's been checking for Top Gun 2 now. Like, that's not really necessary, is it? And that's the energy I was going into this. The trailer drops, and I was like, I'm not filming it. And then, of course, the pandemic happened, so the movie got delayed. I believe it was supposed to come out in 2020, and they kept delaying it. And then it finally came out this year in 2022, and which affected his other movie, the next Mission Impossible, which they pushed that back another year. And when that second trailer dropped, it gave more of the story. I kind of got hyped. I was like, yo, that actually does look a lot better than that first trailer, because it was leaning heavily on the nostalgia, and I just didn't remember the first movie. And this movie is a very good sequel and a great sort of reinvigoration, not necessarily a reboot, but definitely a reinvigoration of this classic, which is tough to do because it's not easy to do that. You know, Star Wars is one of the biggest franchises in the world, and they've been struggling with reinvigorating the new generation. Star Trek has been struggling with that. But Top Gun Maverick really does take what was good about the original movie and amp it up for more modern sensibilities. Because the original movie is not a bad movie, but it's definitely a product of its time in terms of, because it's definitely more of like a romance surrounded by the guise of a military action movie, because there's some action in it. It's definitely more like a sports movie where it's like, you know, the team is working together for the big game. Although in that movie, the big game is a dogfight between enemy soldiers. And this movie, Top Gun Maverick, picks up 30 years after the first. We focus on the character Captain Pete Maverick, who is still a wild card, and he's been in the military all this time, but he hasn't moved up in the ranks because he's just so stubborn, and he's not really willing to move up in the ranks. He really just wants to fly planes, and he's one of the best in the world, and he's like really the only pilot to have 3 confirmed kills in over like 30 friggin' years, because you know the whole planes weren't really used like that in combat for the past 30 years. You know, they've been dropping bombs, but no real dogfights or anything. So there's this mission that pops up, and they have these new young pilots that are very good. They're also, you know, the best of the best, but they need someone to train them. So Maverick is brought in to train them to, you know, do this crazy mission. And then things go a little haywire, and then ultimately he has to step in to help out with this mission. And then it goes even beyond that with other stuff. And the movie really does raise the stakes and improve on what was great about the original movie. This is also one of those movies where you don't necessarily have to watch the original, because it does give you everything you really need to know. It gives you the context that you need without seeing the original, but watching the original does help. I watched it the day before I went to go see it on Paramount Plus. I think it's still on Netflix as well. So you should have either one of those, Paramount Plus or Netflix, to watch this movie. The pros for this movie, there's a lot of pros. You have, of course, your lead actor, Tom Cruise, playing Captain Pete Mitchell, A.K.A. Maverick. I mean, he's bringing his charm, but I also admire that Tom Cruise is, at this point in his career, he's starting to acknowledge that he's old. So I like that he's willing to step back to a degree and allow the younger, newer characters to kind of get some shine. They don't get too much shine, but they get some shine, because the movie is still about about Maverick. But him, you know, having to step back, checking his ego to a degree, and showing this new team how it's supposed to be done is really great. And the new cast is really good too. You have Miles Teller as I'm just gonna go by that call sign. You have Miles Teller as Rooster, who is the son of Goose, who was Tom Cruise's partner in the first movie. And he's got some heat with Maverick, because if you know the first movie, Maverick was fucking up, and he didn't kill his dad, but he put him in a situation that led to the death of his dad. So he's got resentment over that. But then there's another thing that happens, which I guess I'm not going to spoil, but that happened in their life that gives him even more resentment with Maverick. So they have heat going into this, but he's one of the elite pilots that are brought in for this mission. You have the character of Phoenix, played by Monica Barbaro. She's like the only woman on this team. She's a dope character. I really like Phoenix a lot. They all get a little bit of screen time. You get enough of them to know their personalities, but not really. You don't really go into everyone's backstories like that. But you can tell that her and Rooster kind of had a thing at some point. Maybe they don't get too over involved with that, but she's a great pilot and she's also a badass. Then you have the character of Hangman, who's played by Glenn Powell. He, in a way, he's kind of like Iceman, but he's the other sort of antagonistic. But he's actually worse than Iceman, because Maverick was really the antagonist in the first movie. Iceman was the pilot that was very good at what he did and followed the rules, but he was cocky. And then Maverick was very good at what he did, was cocky, but didn't follow the rules. And Hangman's kind of in between, where he's very good at what he does, but he's like a dick, and he doesn't understand the value of teamwork, and that's kind of his problem. But he's also an asshole. So, but he's like the top hotshot because he's up there with Maverick, where he's one of the only other pilots to actually have actual combat experience. Then there's some other characters like Payback, played by Jay Ellis. He's good. And then there's Fanboy, played by Dan Ramirez. There's Bob, who has like the lamest call sign, Bob, who's played by Louis Pullman. And there was the other guy, Coyote, played by Greg Davis. They were all good young. Those are some of the main ones that they focus on. And most of the movie is them building camaraderie to work on this plan. They have like 3 weeks to figure out this strategy that they have to do. Like it's a ridiculous mission that they have to do. Like the amount of stuff they have to do in the training is ridiculous. And while all that is going on, you have Maverick, who's trying to be a teacher, who's not good at it, but he's butting heads with the Admiral Cyclone, who's played by John Hamm, who doesn't like him, but he acknowledges that Maverick, you're the best we got. Hopefully you're crazy enough to teach these kids to do this mission. But they also butt heads because, Maverick's teaching style is different from his teaching style, which is a little more rigid. So it's that sort of classic back and forth between them two. You also have Jennifer Connelly's character, who plays Penny, who is a woman that Maverick has dated before in the past. And she works at the bar that's near the Top Gun training facility. And she's a divorcee, and her and Maverick are trying to possibly rekindle a relationship. And that stuff was good. Their chemistry was very good. It felt believable that, these were two people who had a thing and hadn't seen each other for a while. And the ins and outs of that, and her dealing with her daughter and all that. There's some good humor in there. There's a lot of funny, charming humor, and then there's also some really good action. The plane shots are top notch. I don't know how they did most of these new shots, but it's a great blend of practical and CG imagery. But it's really good, and I love all those moments where, especially watching the first Top Gun, knowing there was the guy, I think his name was Viper, who was the teacher in that. And then seeing Maverick kind of filling his role and teaching the kids is good stuff. I gotta say, it's a very good movie. There's some very emotional stuff too. I didn't even get into. There's the moment where we see Iceman, who's played by Val Kilmer in this movie. He's in this movie, and he has a very good scene and interaction between him and Maverick. And I gotta say, it was emotional. Like, I don't know why it was so emotional to me, but I was watching that movie and I started to tear up a little bit. I don't know why. It just hit me. It was so damn good. I don't know why that was the case. Because like I said, I'm not like the biggest Top Gun fan, but like rewatching that movie, then seeing Val Kilmer, if you don't know, Val Kilmer is going through some cancer treatment and it's hard for him to talk. And seeing him on screen and they worked that into the story in a very believable way. Of him playing this admiral, and the relationship between those two has grown since the end of the first movie, where they were enemies and then they become respected partners. The camaraderie between them grew, and then seeing how that's grown over the years. Whenever Maverick would mess up, Iceman would help him out, and that bond, and then seeing them back and forth, it was just it was a touching moment. I gotta say, it got me. I don't know, they did it right. I'm just saying, they did it right. They killed it. Both of them killed it in that scene. Val Kilmer, the lady that played his wife. Oh, it was just it was good stuff. This, if you don't see anything else, see that. That was a great moment. And then the rest of the movie when they actually go on the mission and how that goes crazy. And it's a fun time at the movies. It really is. Like, I know some people was mad when Tom Cruise was putting this together and he was yelling at people, talking about put on your mask while they're working on the set. He was rough, but this man is saving cinema. This movie was packed. This is the second week, and this movie was packed. Okay, people are going to see this movie, and it's worth it. It's a good ass movie. Go check it out. Okay, if I want to say some cons, there's not too many cons I got. The only main cons I can say, it's not really a con, but it's because they kind of did this in the first movie, but they don't really specify who the enemy is or what area they're in, which I guess is not to piss too many people off of, but you can kind of guess it's maybe sort of Eastern European, Russia-y area, because it's not the desert. I'll tell you that much. It's not the desert, but they do leave it vague, sort of like the first movie where it's vague, you know, who the enemies are. And I guess it would have been nice to have more screen time or a little more backstory on the newer characters. It's not necessary, but it would have been, I guess, nice because all of them are very well acted and they interact with each other very well. And you can see the different cliques in the crew, very much like in the original movie where everyone had their cliques. Although I would say some of the side characters get just a little bit more screen time and a little bit more explanation of who they are as opposed to the original. So they do enhance, like I said, they do enhance what was established in the original film. If I was to give Top Gun Maverick a grade, I would give it A or a 10 out of 10. Solid movie. This is a real blockbuster. And it's nice to see a blockbuster that didn't really have to rely too much on overly sci-fi stuff or overly superhero stuff. And I love that stuff, don't get me wrong, but it is refreshing to see a big blockbuster movie that can still pull on nostalgia. Yes, it is an established franchise, but still give us a little something different, which I guess is what they're going to hopefully might do in the upcoming weeks. Although I think it's this week with Jurassic World Dominion. I don't know if Jurassic World Dominion is going to hit as hard as this did, but this was great. And they might do another one. If they do a third one, it'll probably be, I'm guessing at least next 5 years they'll do a third one, because they do leave the movie off where you could do a third movie. What that story would be, I don't know, but I would like to see these characters come back in something. All of these young actors did a great job. And that's the other thing. It's good to see some of these young actors in this movie getting some shine. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Top Gun Maverick. It's worth seeing. It's a fun movie. And yeah, that's about it. So let me know what you thought about Top Gun Maverick in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more. Peace.